Let's talk a bit about your motivations to get into the paramedic business, first of all. You went to La Cité for your education to become a qualified paramedic. What drove you to take that particular course? What drove you to take that particular look on your life?
I'm originally from Montreal, and when I was a teenager, I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer working on airplanes. But then I started volunteering with St. John Ambulance with medical first response, and it was that's where I realized how much I enjoyed helping people, being on the front line, being the first one there to help out in case of emergency. So I started looking at all the prerequisites, made sure I get all the check marks for a driver's license, biology, chemistry, math, and then I applied to La Cité Collégiale in Ottawa.
Now, you were hired straight out of the blocks. I mean, you came right out of your college and into the Ottawa paramedic service. That must have been a bit of a shock.
Well, I was. We kept hearing back then. That was back in 2002 that it were needed. That paramedics were needed because over the in 2001 the emergency services were downloaded from the province to the municipalities, and with this came a great need for new staff. So I was pretty lucky to get in at the right time, and I finished school on Friday and started working on Monday.
Wow. What was your first experiences like? What were they like in terms of how your education had equipped you? Was it, most jobs, I feel anyway, you can go through all the education you want, but once you get into the nitty-gritty, it's a little different sometimes.
Yeah, I was very lucky to be very well supported by great paramedics when I started, who were very patient with me, were willing to teach me all the fine details of the job. We have a pretty good preceptorship program where we precept with paramedics for more than 400 hours. So when I started working in Ottawa, I was already almost 400 hours in. And I was lucky to have a preceptor that taught me, again, a lot of things on how to be a great paramedic.
Tell me a bit about the experiences compared to when you went through your training versus the new graduates who are coming up now. Is the training improved in terms of the education they receive before they come in?
The training always evolved based on research, based on new medication, based on new technologies that are emerging over the years. Just before I started, paramedics had to lift what were called a 30 stretcher, a number 30 stretcher into the ambulance completely, so pick up the stretcher from the ground and lifting it inside the ambulance. As I started, a new model of stretcher were coming in to allow a more easy lifting through the use of pivot points to lift a patient inside the ambulance. And now we have moved to a fully electric system to be able to load a patient way up to 500 pounds with a touch of a button, which is some great improvements. Technologies have changed a lot also with defibrillators. New research has refocused some treatment, some back to the basic, like refocusing on CPR in a way to save people in cardiac arrest. And sometimes they added new medications to allow us to better treat patients in the field. So the scope of the paramedics have greatly evolved over the years. And now we started with specialty teams. We have paramedics that are embedded with the police SWAT team. We have paramedics that are working on boats on the Ottawa River for nautical emergency. We have paramedics on bikes. So basically now paramedics are able to go get patients no matter where they are. It could be in the middle of a riot. It could be again in the middle of the river, down a ravine. We have specialized paramedics who can go wherever there's a patient.
Tell me a bit about the daily life of a paramedic. I mean, you've been at this 16 years now.
Well, we're a service that's quite busy. So we have so a lot of time our paramedics are working long hours. They're responding to emergency, also some lower emergency calls. It's not all major car accidents. We often have to respond to a patient that could have fallen out of bed, and they just require a lift back into their bed, make sure they're not injured. But as you're assigned to that call and you're approaching the scene, you can be redirected within a second to a child that's in cardiac arrest. So we have to be able to really flip our brain extremely quickly to be able to respond to these emergencies. When you look at the OC Transpo tragedy with the VI rail train, a few seconds before that was happening, paramedics were having coffee, paramedics were chatting with each other at a standby location, and with the flick of a switch, as the base pager went off, these crews has to go and try to save as many people as possible. All that within the mood change in a matter of a second.
Let's talk a bit about some of the cases you've been involved with here. We don't have to get into deep detail, but tell me how these cases have affected you. What have you been going through? What was your reaction? Does it jade you at all to being a paramedic?
I've been, again, very lucky to be well supported during these difficult calls I had. I've seen parents kill their children, children kill their parents. It can take a toll. I always say that it's one of the best jobs in the world. It is the best job in the world in my mind. However, it's a job that will take something away from you. It will change the way you are. It will change the way you see the world. You cannot go through this job without changing. However, I've been lucky enough that I think this job changed me for the better. I've been well supported again during these difficult calls. I've been supporting paramedics as part of the peer support team through some very, again, difficult situation. Try to give them the resources, listen to them when they need to. It could be sometime at 1 in the morning when they start to feel that they need to talk. And we are there, the peer support team is there 24/7 to respond to these paramedics that just need to talk sometimes.
You said it changes you. You think it's changed you for the better? How so?
Well, I think it made me a better person. I see life differently. I see the importance of my family. I see the importance of my children. I found it also, some of these calls made me the person that I am, and made me get involved into peer support, because I saw how important I was to have paramedics, dispatchers, or logistics personnel, support staff there to support their colleagues who are going through some very, very difficult times because of what they heard, of what they saw on the job.
You must get a sense of reward as well, too, when you go to a case and you save a person's life. That must make you feel really, really positive about the job.
Oh yeah, it's a job that's very rewarding. I still remember a call I did with my partner Kyle several years ago, just before Christmas. We got to a call for a dad who was playing hockey with his two sons, and I have two boys myself. And he was playing hockey with them, and he started to having pain in his chest, so he called us. And when we got there, we just had a brief chat, and rapidly he felt the cardiac arrest, and we were able to revive him. And that was just before Christmas, and I remember the Christmas card that he sent me.
Oh, yeah.
Thanking me for me and what the other people did for him. So that was very rewarding. There's also a lot of reward I found being a preceptor and a mentor, so people that you taught, to see them saving lives based on what you taught them, that's also extremely rewarding.
Yeah. It does change people, though, for the worse in some ways, too, with all of the stress and the things that you see and the things that you experience. Post-traumatic stress disorder has always been a big part of emergency services, police, fire, paramedics. Has it taken, are we recognizing this now enough? It's been such a long time to actually recognize that people in the paramedic service undergo these sorts of stresses as well.
Yes, we have lost some great paramedics, some very strong paramedics to post-traumatic stress. It is being recognized more and more, and as being recognized, there's also a lot of resources that are being developed. The Ottawa paramedic is at the front line for mental health of their coworkers, of their employees. We have a peer support team that's one of the leaders in its field. We have a zootherapy dog named Max that's here to support employees after difficult calls or after a day-to-day grind. We have great relationship with the other emergency services in Ottawa, with Ottawa Police, Ottawa Fire, where we share resources, all that to better care for our staff. The management of the Ottawa Paramedic Service is greatly involved in mental health. In the fall, we'll be giving all frontline paramedics a 4-hour training called Road to Mental Readiness that's been developed by the Canadian military to make sure that they have all the tools available to have the resilience to go through these difficult times.
Has there ever been a time in your career where something has happened as part of your job where you've said, I can't do this anymore, I don't think I can cope with this anymore?
I've been very lucky in that I haven't reached that point. I mean, I had calls where I got out of there, I could not even spell my name to the police officer because of the intensity of the call. And afterwards, I was very lucky again to have a great partner to support me, to have the peer support team that was there for me, to have managers that were there to support me in the days after. After that call, for me, the best thing was to go back on the road the next day. Oh, yeah. Not because I'm a superhuman, because for me, staying at home, I would just keep thinking about it. I needed to get my mind back to work, back to the structure, if you wish, of responding to emergency calls. And for me, that's what was good for me. Somebody else needed more time, and I'm not stronger than they are. I'm just different. So I never reached that point. There have been times where it's been difficult. These calls, you never forget them. They are going to be with you forever. You just learn to deal with it and to not let the emotion associated with the call control you.
Okay, Marc-Antoine Deschamps, thanks very much.
You're welcome.